last clip I had pulled for us, I think we're going to just narrowly have time for, Gavin, if you're up for it, is this 5-minute Mehdi Hasan clip. Mehdi Hasan's been on a tear since he launched Zeteo, and I thought he did an absolutely epic job of dismantling one line you guys are going to hear constantly from the Jimmy Dore segment of the new media apparatus. I can't even call them the Jimmy Dore left. They freak out when you call them the Jimmy Dore right. I don't suppose there's a word for the, black-pilled politics that they embody yet, but I did want to play this clip from Mehdi.
People in left-wing circles, in Muslim circles, in Arab American circles, who tell me that they're voting for Donald Trump because he isn't a hawk. He didn't start any new wars. He killed fewer Muslims than Democratic presidents do. This argument is doing my head in because it just isn't true. It's total nonsense. So when it comes to Trump and war and killing Muslims in particular, it's time for a debunking. Number one, he didn't start any new wars, they say. Well, it's not like he didn't try. We just got lucky. In his first year in office, he picked a fight with nuclear-armed North Korea. He called Kim Jong-un Little Rocket Man, called him short and fat, and threatened him with fire and fury. Trump's own Homeland Security officials were so shit-scared that he'd start a major war with North Korea that they had multiple meetings to prepare for a nuclear attack, a North Korean nuclear strike on American soil.
And I wanted to bring that up, Gavin. You and I both covered this pretty closely in our own personal lives and our own, correspondence with one another as it was unfolding. And I think it's one part of the Trump presidency that people seemingly have erased from their entire minds. Now, it is true that it was a step that a lot of lefties applauded when Donald Trump did go over to North Korea and meet with, or did he go to North Korea? He did go to North Korea, right? Yeah. They had the first meeting between a sitting U.S. president and Kim Jong-un under Donald Trump, but that was only after massive escalation, huge risk, the opportunity of pushing us towards war. The idea that you could call this guy like some sort of peace negotiator is absolutely absurd. So first off, I wanted to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, no, I think it's 100% correct. And you're totally right, Zach, that a lot of people pretend that, sort of state of terror we all lived in under Donald Trump never happened, but it absolutely happened. I vividly remember not just with the North Korea situation, but also later and even more intensely with the Iran situation after the murder of, or the extrajudicial assassination of Qasem Soleimani. People were genuinely like, oh shit, we might go to war. Like this could genuinely trigger a serious conflict, the likes of which no one is prepared for. That was a very real fear. And again, it wasn't very calming to have someone as erratic as Donald Trump in charge during those moments. So even though we avoided the worst case scenario, to call Donald Trump some diplomat is just completely ridiculous.
And he's going to be more emboldened. But hold your thoughts on Qasem Soleimani. We're going to hear more about Iran.
His last year in office, Trump illegally assassinated Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani, via a drone strike. And the only reason we didn't have a full-on war with Iran is because the Iranians chose to show restraint and not respond in kind.
This is what's crazy about that, by the way, and this is why one of the chief foreign policy failures in the lead up to Gaza, which is, of course, all-consuming and will take up much of the foreign policy writing and discussions of the Joe Biden administration. The fact that he did not resume the Iran nuclear deal after Iran patiently waited following the assassination of a huge general. Imagine we hardly have any famous generals or famous military professionals in America. Imagine one gets killed by a foreign government like Russia or China or, Iran. What would we do? We would try and destroy their entire country. We would kill so many innocent women and children. We would do abhorrent things to their economy, their food stability, all of that jazz. No, this country, Iran, said, let's take a chill pill. He'll be out soon. Let's see if we can wait until Joe Biden takes office and resumes the Iran nuclear deal. Obama negotiated the Iran nuclear deal with us. After all, it was his chief foreign policy achievement. Joe Biden says, no, fuck you.
Iran, say, assassinated General Mark Milley, America's top general at that time. We would have been instantly in World War III as a result of Trump's actions. Let's be clear about that. In fact, Milley says Trump wanted to attack Iran after he lost the 2020 election. Trump also reportedly wanted to attack Venezuela. And now for his second term, he's considering airstrikes on Mexican soil.
He put freaking John Bolton in his cabinet. That guy's had a hard-on for war with Iran for fucking decades. He's built his entire Republican credentials on it as being an insane war hawk towards Iran and anywhere else.
That for a new war, not far away in the Middle East, but on our own southern border. By the way, this very specific and annoying claim that he was the first president to start no new war, that's just not true. Former president and Nobel Peace Laureate Jimmy Carter would like a word. And look, this whole not starting new wars thing is a distraction from the fact that Trump expanded and escalated pretty much every war that he inherited from Barack Obama. Remember, Obama famously didn't bomb the Assad government in Syria, but Trump did in 2017 and again in 2018. Obama didn't drop the single biggest bomb on Afghanistan, the mother of all bombs, the Moab, but Trump did. In fact, the number of Afghan
And liberals applauded him for this. We were talking about this with Tyrell the other day. They actually defined it as like Trump's officially the commander in chief now that he's dropped the mother of all bombs on these poor people in Afghanistan who, of course, hadn't suffered enough under our pillage.
Afghan civilians killed by airstrikes on Trump's watch went up 330%. And as writer Ben Krause points out, quote, there were more civilian deaths from airstrikes in Somalia under Trump than under Bush and Obama combined. Trump also oversaw a 200% increase in airstrike deaths in Iraq and Syria. Number two, well, at least he wasn't a drone president, they say, like Obama was. Look, Obama was indeed a drone president who killed a lot of innocent people with drone strikes. But you know who was a bigger drone president? Donald Trump. Yeah. You just haven't heard about it because much of our media is a joke and because both Muslims and the left, for some reason, have given Trump a pass on this issue. Here are the facts that you need to know. Donald Trump did more drone strikes in his first 2 years in office than Barack Obama carried out over 8 years in office. In fact, Trump didn't just do more drone strikes, he loosened all restrictions on drone strikes, making it even easier to kill innocent civilians.
Which is another thing I wanted to get your reaction to, Gavin. And it is something that I don't even think we on our own podcast do a good enough job of pointing out. It is absolutely absurd to argue that even Barack Obama, who took us from 2 wars to 7, who won a Nobel Peace Prize for no reason, who was a absolute bloodthirsty maniac on the global stage, he did less damage to the people of the Middle East than Donald Trump did.
Yeah. I mean, he makes a great point with the drone statistic, right, as far as Trump being even worse. And it reminds me, honestly, of the Tulsi Gabbard position as well, which for years she pretended was an anti-war position, being in favor of drone strikes instead of troops on the ground, as if that somehow is the position, like a dovish position. But that was her line, that, oh yeah, drone strikes are cool, just less American troops on the ground. And then for years she went around, pretending to be anti-war, even though that was her position the whole time. It's kind of similar to the Trump approach. It might have even been influenced by Tulsi Gabbard for all I know. But yeah, just this idea that relentlessly droning the shit out of these countries is not anti-war. That's ridiculous. Drones kill 90% civilians, as we found out from whistleblower Daniel Hale.
100%.
Civilians. And it was Joe Biden, for all his sins on Gaza, who came along and almost ended the drone war without much fanfare and without much credit. Number three, well, at least Trump didn't do a genocide like Biden did in Gaza. Yes, he did. Yes, he did in Yemen. How have we just forgotten the Yemen genocide?
Not only that, I don't know if Mehdi's going to bring it up, I forget, but he also vetoed the bipartisan legislation that was co-sponsored by Ro Khanna and what's his fuck from Kentucky. Oh, right? It was Mike Lee.
Or no, maybe it was Rand Paul.
It was Rand Paul. Maybe Mike Lee also was involved, but it got all the way to Donald Trump's desk and he vetoed it. Okay, he was going to stop bipartisan legislation to prevent a genocide in Yemen. And do you know why he didn't? Because Saudi Arabia has him by the fucking balls.
Tens of thousands of deaths, thousands of kids killed, and a man-made famine. It started on Obama's watch, yes. But in 2018, it was President Trump who oversaw the Yemen war's deadliest and most violent year up until that point. It was Trump who was in charge when a US-made bomb was dropped on a school bus full of Yemeni kids. And it was Trump, like Biden with Israel, who bypassed Congress to get weapons and bombs to his pal MBS in Saudi Arabia, which were then used to kill even more innocent Yemenis en masse. So when you say Trump didn't do a genocide, didn't mass kill Muslims, you're erasing the people of Yemen, and you should really be ashamed of yourself. To be clear, Trump did try and start new wars, expanded old wars, increased drone strikes, and helped do a genocide in the Middle East. He also supported the invasion of Iraq, wanted America to steal Iraq's oil, and pardoned and praised American soldiers convicted of war crimes in Iraq. He's the president who ramped up the defense budget and surrounded himself with neocon hawks like Mike Pompeo, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, and John.
And that's also true. We can't forget that he did pardon a bunch of the Blackwater disgusting fucks that were committed not just war crimes, guys, crimes against humanity. I mean, I'm talking about the way that they went into this fucking country. Let's actually go ahead. Well, we don't have time. Hold that thought. We do have to get out of here, but let's keep watching. Donald Trump, Google pardoning Blackwater Donald Trump. It will fill you in.
On Bloody Bolton. And he's the presidential candidate now who is surrounding himself again with hawks. China hawks who would love nothing more than a new American war with the nuclear-armed People's Republic. So Donald the Dove? No, that's ridiculous. It's perhaps the biggest, most annoying, and most demonstrable lie in American politics right now. Don't fall for it.
Boom. Don't fall for it.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Really well said. Really well said by Mehdi. Excellent citing. And yeah, I mean, even some of that stuff I forgot about because, as Mehdi said, our media is a total joke. And a lot of people, even that do a good job reporting on foreign policy, he's right. They didn't cover some of that stuff enough. And he's also right that it didn't get enough fanfare when Biden massively reduced the drone war. That was something that actually he deserved credit for and that not enough people gave him credit for, which always sucks. Same with the Afghanistan withdrawal, right? It's like, actually, I mean, I'm not giving credit to Biden in the realm of foreign policy, given what's going on right now. I think you all know that. But still, when presidents make the right decision, when they end a war like in Afghanistan or massively reduce the drone war, they should get credit, at least from people in independent media, because they're not going to get it from the mainstream media. Remember how the mainstream media reacted when the Afghanistan withdrawal was going down? They were constantly smearing the Biden administration, acting like, what a disaster, we should have stayed there. The obvious implicit, conclusion was that we should have never withdrawn in the first place. So if they get no credit and only get torn down by mainstream media, then we can expect them to only, do the wrong thing and not end these wars like they should.
100%.